Hey everyone, in this lecture we are going to go over the math functions, and also we're going to go over the programming assignments for this week. So we're going to explain what the expectations are. So in the previous lecture we learned how to perform arithmetic operations in C++, and also how to do basic formatting. So in this lecture we're going to be continuing from where we left off. So we're going to be learning about the math functions. So the math functions are functions basically that will make your programming experience as effective and efficient as possible. So before we apply or before we use these math functions, it's very important to include this preprocessor directive, include CMath. So you have to use or include this before before working with the math functions. So there are a lot of functions that we can be using. So we're going to mention only some of them or the most frequently used ones. The first one, for example, is max. So if you are given two values, which one is the highest? So we can use the max function for that. So let's say, for example, we have two variables. Let's say x equals 5, and then we have y equals 9. Okay? Of course, it's obvious that y is the highest because we know what the values are. But what about if we don't know what the values are? We got them from the user, so you can't tell. So using max function will be very useful in this case. So we're going to put, for example, here that the highest value is, and then we're going to use max, and then you put the 2. It accepts only two arguments, only two values, so x and y. So if I run the program, you're going to see it's going to say the highest is 9 in this case. Okay? Now, even if we don't know what the values are, so let's say, for example, we have two numbers, number 1 and number 2. We don't know what the values are. So we're going to ask the user, enter the first number. And then we are going to save it. So we're going to put cin num1. And then we're going to copy these two lines and then ask for the second value. So enter the second number, and then we are going to save it in num2. So the highest is, and then we can use num1 and num2. So the program will tell us which one is the highest. So if I run the program, of course this is cout. So if I run the program, the first thing is the program will prompt you to enter the first number. Enter the first number, let's say 13. Now the second number, let's say 45. So 45 is bigger than 13, so it's going to say the highest value is 45. Okay? Now what about if we have three values? How can we do that? And we know that this function max accepts only two. We cannot put num1, num2. So if we have a num3, another number, then we're going to have a problem because the function accepts only two, and then we cannot put it inside here. So we're going to put here the third number, num3. So how can I put, I can't put num3 here, because that's going to cause an error because the max accepts only 3. Let me try and see. Okay, see there's an error here, so that means that this function accepts only 3. So how can we do that? What we can do, we can go around it and then declare a variable called high1, for example. So we're going to compare num1 and num2 only, and then whatever the highest, we're going to save it in high1, and then after that we're going to compare high1 with the third number. So we're going to do something like this. So we're going to get the high one equals the maximum of, we can pick two of these three numbers, either num1 and num2, num2 and num3, or num1 and num3. So let's just pick the first two, num1 and num2. So it's going to be saved in this variable. So now we're just going to compare what? High one and the third number that we did not get involved. So now if we run the program, it should be, so enter the first number 13, the 39, the third number, let's say, is 22. So it's going to compare 13 and 39. The highest is 39, then after that it's going to compare 39 to 22. So now if I hit the enter key, it's going to say, oh, the highest value is 39. Now what about if we have four values? So we're going to do the same thing. So we are going to prompt the user to enter the fourth number. So we need another variable, num4, and then ask for the fourth number. So number 4. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another variable, num2. So here we're going to compare num1 and num2, save it in high 1, and compare num3 and num4 and save it in high 2, and then after that we're going to compare high 1 and high 2. So we're going to put high 2, or we're just going to put it right next to it right here. So when they share the same data type, you don't have to declare them separately. You can just declare them one time. So here we have the fourth number. So we're gonna get, so we're just gonna copy this. So this is to compare num1 and num2. Now I'm gonna use num high 2 to compare num3 and num4. So I have like 3 steps here. Num4. So now the highest value is high 1 with high 2. Okay, whatever the highest number from the first two, you compare it with whatever the highest from the last two. So now let's run the program. So it's going to ask you for the first number, say 15, second number 29, okay, then 19, then 27. So it's gonna compare 15 and 29, the highest is 29. Compare 19 to 27 is 27, then compare 29 to 27, that's 29. So now if I hit the enter key, the highest value is 29. So this makes it super easy if we have 4. If we have more, then the best way is to use the loops. That's the topic we're gonna be covering in chapter 4, or chapter 5 actually, chapter 5. So we're going to learn how to make the program, perform specific task many times. In this case, keep comparing until you get the highest number. So if you have more than this, like the 4 numbers, it's better to use the loop. We're going to learn about that in chapter 5. Okay, so that's the one of the function we're going to be using, which is max. And then we can do the same thing for min. Let's say I want the minimum, so we're going to do the same thing. Let's have a variable called min1 and then min2, or let's say lowest 1, lowest 2. So I can do the same thing. I can just compare lowest 1 equals min. So min will get you the lowest of the 2, and then compare number 3 and the third and the fourth, and then save it in lowest 2. So min num3 with num4. So see how it's whatever we said about the max, it's applicable. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna just copy this, copy it, and then print it, and then I'm gonna put the lowest value is, and then instead of max you're gonna put min. Everything else will stay intact. So now if I run the program, it's gonna give me the highest and the lowest using the same program. So let's say here we have 26, we have 19, we have 42, and then we have 35. So when you hit, the highest value is 42 and the lowest is 26. Oh, so there's something wrong here. The lowest is 26. That tells you that there's something wrong with the program. So let's go and fix it. So here we have the lowest one. I put num1 and num2. And then for the lowest 2, I put num3 and num4. And then, oh, I put high 1 and high 2. I'm supposed to put lowest 1 and lowest 2. So it makes total sense. Okay, min order. So now it should be working. Let me run it again. So the first value is, let's say 19, 28, say 11, and 32. So the highest is 32, as you can tell, and then the lowest is 11. That makes sense, right? So that's how the max and min works. Another function we use also is the power, pow. So let's say I want to use or calculate exponents. Let's say I want to, let's say I have x equals, let's say 2. And I want to calculate 2 to the power of 5, like to the 5th. How can I do that? So I have two choices. Either I have to keep multiplying 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 5 times, right? 2 times 10. What about if I have 20? So I have to do it 20 times, so it's not like an efficient method. So the best way is to use the POW. POW stands for power. And then it accepts two values. The first one is the base. In this case, it's x. And second one is the power or the exponent. In this case, it's 5. So this will give me the power. X, which is 2 to the 5th, that's 32. So if you run the program, that should give you 32. So anything that we're going to use, so enter the first, okay, this is 13, that's the first program, and then 28, and then 39. So as you can see right here, it says I have to put the end line, so there will be no confusion here, because when you run the program and then you don't end it, so all of them will be in the same line. So it's better to end with end line. So let's run the program again. So for the first part, enter the first numbers: 12, 35, 19, and 25. So the highest value is 35, the lowest value is 12, and then the power 32. Okay. So what about if we need to calculate the square roots? So let's say I have a number y equals 64. I would like to calculate the square root of this number. So we use a function called sqrt, square root, and then you put whatever value you want to calculate the square root for inside the parentheses. So this should be square root of 64, of course, is 8. So the answer here is 8. So 12, 3, 9. So as you can see right here, it says 8 here. Okay. So far we learned the max, min, pow, sqrt. Another two, we don't use them very frequently, but they're good functions. It's called the floor and ceil. So for example, if we have a equals, let's say, they're double. So let's say a is 12.89, and then b is 23.78. So what is floor? So floor basically is like you are round it down. And when you round down the number, that's basically the floor. So for the floor for 1289 is 12, because that's the lowest, the closest integer below the number. The closest integer higher than the number, we call it ceil. So here if I use floor a, so what is the closest integer and less than the number? It's 12. So this, let me just put end L here. and L. So if I run the program, the floor will give me 12 because that's the closest integer below the number. So, okay, I'm gonna stop this program because I don't have to run the program every time. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it a comment. So I'm gonna put / asterisk, and then you go to the end, and then you put asterisk. So you make it as a comment, as you can see right here. So the program will ignore this, so we can focus only on this part. So if I run the program now, it's going to show only the execution for this part. See? So 32, that's the power, 8 is the square root, and the floor is 12. Now what about the ceil? So let's say the ceil of B. What is the ceil of B? So again, the ceil is the closest integer higher than the number. So in this case, we have 23.78, so the highest closest integer is 24. So the ceil, as I mentioned, that we don't use them very frequently, but sometimes, like when you try to solve certain problems, you may find these functions useful. Okay, so floor and ceil. We have also a very important one, it's called round. We use it also kind of frequently to round numbers. So let's say I want to round the number A and B. So I just have to use a round. So let's say you have a calculation and you want just to round it. You don't care about the decimal. So just to round it, so you can use round. So basically floor is when you round it down. Ceil is when you round it up, and round is the actual rounding that you use in math, okay? So if I put round A, so that's going to be 12.89, that's going to be 13 because 8 is higher or equal than 5, okay? But let's say, for example, 23, we have here 48. So if you round it, it's going to stay 23. So I'm going to put here, cout round B. So if you round B, it's going to be 23. So here I run the program. So as you can see here, we have 13 because 12 point, and that the number next to the decimal point is higher or equal than 5, so it will be rounded up. But 23.48, so 4 is less than 5, it will be rounded down. So that's the actual rounding that we use in math. So so as you can see, this is the most frequently functions we use in math in C++. We have max, min, pow, sqrt, floor, ceil, round. There's one more. It's for absolute value. So let's say I'm calculating the temperature, like they say the change in temperature. I just want to see how much change, regardless whether the temperature is going up or going down. So let's say, for example, we have two temperature. Okay, let's just use integer here. So let's say temp 1 is 78, and then temp 2 is, as let's say, 65. I'm interested in just the change. I'm not interested in the sign, whether it's a drop in temperature or increase. So the probably useful function is to use the absolute value, ABS, and then you subtract temp 2 from temp 1. So temp 1 minus temp 2. So sometimes you may find this function useful as well. So if I run the program, it's going to give me only the change, only the absolute value, which is 13, if you subtract temp 2 from temp 1. So this is some of the most frequently. So now let's go over very quick over the assignment in case you have a problem. Program number 1. So you're going to be asked to write a program that reads. So you're going to prompt the user to enter the subtotal, okay, and then the gratuity rate. So you're going to ask him. So the subtotal is going to be a double. Gratuity rate, like let's say what's the percentage. You can just put the number. Let's say 15. As you can see here in the example or the sample, enter the subtotal. So you're going to prompt the user, enter. Of course, you have to declare your variables, and then enter the subtotal. So you're going to get the input from the user, and then the same thing for gratuity rate. And then you're going to do the calculation. So you're going to multiply 10 times 15 divided by 100. Just make sure both variables, make them double. So that's going to give you 1.5. And then you're going to add it to the subtotal, so it becomes 11.5. So that should be a very simple program. Program number 2, so you're going to prompt the user to enter the temperature in Fahrenheit. And then you're going to convert that into Celsius using the formula that you should be familiar with. So again, declare your variables as double so you don't have a problem with the division. Because 5 over 9, remember, like integer over integer, you're going to get an integer only. So that may give you 0. So that's why when you have F, the temperature Fahrenheit, decimal, so when you multiply, it becomes decimal, so you don't have to worry about this. Okay, so as you can see in this sample, you're going to enter the temperature Fahrenheit. So let's say the user will get 212. And then you're going to use this formula in the calculation and then print the equivalent, which is 100. You may want to use a round, function round for this, so you don't have to worry about the decimal. Okay, and then the third, or the program assignment number 4, we learned about formatting, right, in the previous lecture. So make sure you watch that video before you complete this program, because you need to make sure that everything is formatted. Like as you can see here, it looks like a table. So you have the movie names, the movie name, a column, and then we have the Wheels of Fury. So make sure that everything looks like the table here. So all the information on the left side and then the numbers on the right side. Okay, so it should look like this. So a movie theater only keeps percentage of the revenue earned from ticket sales 20%. The remainder, which is 80%, goes to the movie distributor. So you're going to write a program that calculates a theater's gross and net box office profit for a night. So the program should ask for the name of the movie. So enter the name of the movie. For example, it's going to say Wheels of Fury. And then how many adults tickets, and then how many child tickets. So this is the number. And then you're going to, the price of an adult is $10 each, and the child's ticket is $6. So you're going to multiply 382 times 10, and then 127 times 6. Okay, and then of course you're gonna use that percentage, 20%, because here we are interested only about the amounts paid to distributor. Okay, all right. So if you have, like always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Make sure you let me know. Thank you.